What if the thing you most wanted to pick up looked like it belonged in a children's book? Today's animal doesn't rush, doesn't chase, doesn't growl or flash warning colors. It just sits there on a leaf looking unbelievably soft. Tiny body, slow movements, the kind of creature people stop to photograph or gently nudge onto their hand without a second thought. At first glance, there's nothing dramatic about it at all. If anything, it looks peaceful. Most people who spot a fuzzy caterpillar outdoors barely register it as an animal worth being cautious around. They think, don't step on it. Maybe pause for a second because it looks oddly cute, and then move on. And honestly, it makes sense. Caterpillars feel familiar. They're part of that harmless category in our heads, grouped with butterflies, garden leaves, and things you remember collecting as a kid. Nothing about them feels urgent. Up close, that impression only gets stronger. Most of these caterpillars are tiny, around 2 to 4 centimeters long, about the length of your fingertip from tip to first knuckle. Their bodies appear soft and fluffy from normal viewing distance, almost unreal in how delicate they look. Some species go even further, by decorating themselves with bits of silk, dry leaves, or tiny fragments of the environment, turning themselves into little moving pieces of the forest floor. There's no obvious warning sign, nothing that says danger, nothing that says don't touch. And that's exactly where things get interesting, because for some caterpillars, that soft look isn't softness at all. Under that fuzzy surface is a defensive system designed to make predators regret contact immediately. Those hairs aren't always hairs. Many are specialized spines connected to irritating chemicals or toxin-producing structures that activate when something presses against them. To anything curious enough to poke, bite, or grab, the experience changes instantly. That's exactly what happens to the garden lizard in the footage we're about to look at. One quick decision, one harmless-looking caterpillar, and suddenly, the rules of what looks safe outdoors start feeling very different. What looks like fuzz is actually a dense layer of structures sitting right at the surface of the body. They're not there for warmth, and they're not purely for camouflage. The caterpillar can't run, can't fly, and can't curl into a tight ball fast enough to matter when something approaches, so that exterior layer has to carry the full weight of its defense. The whole animal is built around the fact that contact is coming, and the surface is what handles it. Now consider the behavior. When something approaches, this caterpillar doesn't flee. It slows down, sometimes stops completely, and just sits there. From a predator's view, that stillness reads as weakness, a slow, soft, easy target that's practically offering itself up. Other animals use appearance as a first line of defense too. Stick insects disappear into twigs, leaf-tailed geckos vanish against bark, dead leaf mantises look like something already dead and past caring. The caterpillar fits that same general logic, except where those animals use appearance to disappear. This one uses it to invite contact and then punish it. The garden lizard in the footage we're working through spots this caterpillar from about 30 centimeters out and doesn't hesitate at all. That lizard has eaten hundreds of caterpillars before, and every single one of them was just a slow, soft meal that required no real effort. There's no experience in that lizard's history that would tell it to treat this one any differently, so it closes the gap the way it always does and gets close enough to touch. That's the only trigger the caterpillar's body needs. But to understand what happens in that moment, we need to look at what the caterpillar's surface is actually doing while it waits. Most people assume that if a caterpillar has any danger to it at all, it's passive, like brushing your hand against a cactus. You touch it, something pokes you, and that's the end of it. What actually happens at the moment of contact is more mechanical than that, and it moves faster than most people expect. The lizard's tongue or snout presses against the caterpillar's back, and right at that moment, the spines respond. They weren't standing straight up while the caterpillar sat there waiting. They were angled almost flat against the body, lying low, and the second pressure hits them, they compress and spring outward, driving their tips into whatever is pressing down. It's not the caterpillar lunging at anything. The predator's own force pushes against a surface that's built to push back. Now, the spines don't just poke and stay whole. In several species, the tips are built to break off on contact, embedding in skin or tissue, and continuing to release their chemical payload after the initial touch. So when the lizard pulls back, that withdrawal doesn't end the exposure. It can actually drive the broken tips in deeper, which means the defense keeps working after the caterpillar is already a centimeter away and sitting still again. The lizard expected a soft body and got something closer to a pressure-activated needle bed, and its response is immediate. A sharp pullback, head shaking, sometimes pawing at the snout. Contact to withdrawal in documented predator encounters can run under half a second, which means the defense activates faster than the predator can process what went wrong. The burning sensation that follows isn't just from the physical puncture. The compounds carried in spines of species like the Io moth caterpillar or the puss caterpillar produce a burning that researchers describe as well out of proportion to the size of the wound. Some human contact cases have needed medical attention, not because of deep tissue damage, but because the body's inflammatory response runs hard once those compounds enter the skin. Localized swelling, spreading heat, the kind of reaction that makes you check your hand twice to confirm something that small actually did that. The caterpillar doesn't decide to fight back. The structure of the spines makes the response automatic, and spine turns out to be a broad word covering some very different biological structures, which is exactly where the real story sits. Spine is a broad word, and most people picture something like a thorn when they hear it. Hard, inert, just mechanically sharp. The actual biology is more interesting, and it's the chemistry inside these structures that turns a small caterpillar into something worth taking seriously. Caterpillar defensive spines split into a few distinct types. Scoli are rigid, branched spines that grow directly out of the cuticle, packed with hollow shafts running down their length. Setae are finer, more hair-like, and don't look threatening at all from a normal viewing distance, but they carry irritant compounds along their surface and release them on contact. The most dangerous species don't pick one or the other. They run both systems at once. Now, consider Lonomia obliqua, found in South America, because it doesn't follow the pattern you'd expect. Most armed caterpillars cause immediate local pain, so you know right away that something went wrong. Lonomia obliqua skips that signal entirely. Its spines release anticoagulant proteins that interfere with the blood clotting process, and the effects don't show up for hours. People have brushed against these caterpillars in the dark, felt almost nothing, and then dealt with internal bleeding well after the fact. The Brazilian Ministry of Health tracks Lonomia envenomations as a public health issue, and between 1989 and 2005, documented cases in southern Brazil numbered over 354, with a small number of fatalities recorded, making it one of the only caterpillars with a confirmed human mortality record. The caterpillar in our lizard footage uses a different mechanism. Its urticating setae carry histamine-like compounds alongside protease enzymes, and the enzymes are what keep the burning going after the spines are removed. Proteases break down cell membranes at the contact site, which triggers an inflammatory response, which produces localized swelling that persists long after the physical spines are gone. It's not one event, it's a chain. Protease contact, membrane disruption, inflammation, swelling, each step driven by the one before it. What makes the whole system work isn't just the chemistry, it's the delivery geometry. The spines orient so that normal predator behavior, biting, pressing, grabbing, pushes them exactly the right way to break and release. The caterpillar contributes nothing active to this process. The predator's own force triggers the response, which means the harder the predator presses, the more completely the defense deploys. That precision didn't appear quickly. It developed over millions of years in direct answer to a single problem. A creature that couldn't run had to make contact, not worth repeating. After the lizard pulls back, the caterpillar just sits there on the same leaf, completely still, exactly where it was before contact. Nothing changed for it. It didn't flee, didn't hide, didn't do anything at all, and the threat passed anyway. That's worth sitting with for a second, because it tells you everything about how this defense works. Caterpillars are, from a mobility standpoint, about as limited as an insect can get. No wings, no real speed, no active venom delivery that requires the animal to do anything. The survival options available come down to camouflage, mimicry, or making contact cost enough that predators stop trying. Armed caterpillar species went with the third option, and the whole body is built around it. This trade-off shows up across the animal world wherever mobility runs low. Sea urchins can't chase anything. Porcupines won't outrun a wolf. Poison dart frogs cover maybe a few feet per second on a good day. And bombardier beetles aren't winning any sprints either. What all of them share is that the less they can move, the more costly they become to touch. The caterpillar fits that same pattern exactly, and the spines, the toxins, the irritant compounds are all there to compensate for what the legs can't do.